Pinkertons Ghosts is a horror anthology podcast by Superversive Radio, with no affiliation with any detective agency, person, real or imagined, or the dark forces of Outre Terre. It is not intended for children. This is Jim Donavan. It is 1100 hours, and I'm reporting from my apartment. I've been exhausted the last few weeks. I can't help but think I'm hearing things from my soul stone, like the little boy from the Kabbalah Center, crying piteously, or the dragon spirit from Seattle, thrumming on in some deep, dark language I can't speak. Either way, I've been having a hard time sleeping with all the racket going on. I've taken to locking the soul stone up in a lead-lined case at night, but then I just think I hear things. Either way, I was taking a nap, because I was tired, and I seemed to get more peaceful sleep during the day anyway. I woke up to feeling something on my chest. At first I thought it was my emerald green forest lizard, Lizzie, snuggling up close for some of my body heat. Then I heard the sound of a tiny throat being cleared, followed by a high-pitched voice saying, "Aye, you wee big bastard! Open your eyes and let's blather a tick!" I peeked open my eyes. On my chest perched a tiny little man, no more than 16 or 17 inches tall, dressed in raggedy brown. His ears and nose were comically large, as though he were a person drawn by a satirical portraitist down at the Santa Monica Pier. He had a cane, but was standing straight. I couldn't tell how old he was at a glance, but everything about him indicated he wasn't very old, whatever age he actually was. I mumbled, "I don't Scottish. Come back when you know English," and rolled over. He made a ridiculous noise of panic as he went tumbling off my chest. I should have known not to be rude, because I felt jabbing pain on my nose. I opened my eyes again to see him right next to my face, poking me in the nose with his cane. He spoke more refined this time. "I beg your pardon, waking you from your slumber, but as the protector of this establishment, I need your leave to be about my task." It was obvious he wasn't going to let me sleep, even if it wasn't entirely obvious what he was saying. I rubbed my hand over my eyes and sat upright in my bed, looking down at him. "All right, I'm up," I said. "Who are you, what do you want, and why can't this wait until I'm awake?" "I am Puddlefoot, formerly of the Old Country. It has been told me in Tirnanog that one of my people has moved into this large dwelling that you find yourself in, and therefore I beseech thee to let me be about my task without interference." Wait, what are you?" "You big people call my folk brownies, my lord." He was switching between his more refined pseudo-Scottish-Irish accent and what seemed to be a bit more rural Scottish. I could still mostly understand him. Brownies, as I have read, are a territorial form of the Fae. They latch onto either a place or a family and tidy up the house, setting everything neatly in order and basically doing the household tasks that we find onerous. They're mostly considered benign, unless they are disrespected. It'd be time to put the kid gloves on. "Are you talking about cleaning the whole apartment complex?" "Aye, that is my intent, if you'll allow it." "And you ask me because—" "Courtesy and respect. You've a name for yourself in Tirnanog, and I'll not step across your threshold without your leave." There was some possibility here. Cleanliness is vital in my line of work. Every stray hair or drop of food can ruin a challenging spell, or adjust the threads of reality and foul up a rather convoluted summoning. Not that I've been summoning things to control, but still, there were some boundaries I needed to set. "You've my permission, but the garage is off limits." Puddlefoot threw up his hands in exasperation. "That which you call a garage is most in need of my care." "Nevertheless, it is forbidden to you. You may neither clean nor even enter the garage." The brownie quickly worked himself into a miniature tantrum. He stomped around in a circle and began cursing and gesticulating in Scottish Gaelic. I have no idea what he was saying, but it was kind of adorable to watch. "Fine!" he yelled, and disappeared in a puff of brown, foul-smelling smoke. I wasn't really sure at the time what had happened, but I knew I couldn't let a brownie skulk around the garage. He might accidentally trip the wards that kept my ghoul of a brother imprisoned. Also, Puddlefoot said he was here because some human was living here. I knew I had seen a moving van a couple of days ago, but I don't meet my neighbors. This is L.A. My neighbors are lucky if I make eye contact with them if we meet in the mailroom. Still, though, if someone was blessed by their family lineage to have the services of a genuine Brownie, I'd have to investigate a little. Might be more ties to the Scottish Fae than I'm comfortable with. Especially if I have a reputation in their little pocket dimension of Tir na Nog. For now, though, I decided to consult my resident familiar, the disembodied sage known as Gordon O'Hedesy. I hadn't considered this, but because of his Gaelic name, he might be from the same region. I really have to learn more about him someday. I popped downstairs and found Gordon sitting in my easy chair, watching some gory slasher movie. It's after Halloween, Gordon.
Hey, you gotta respect the classics, Jim. They're timeless.
Whatever. Hey, what do you know about brownies?
They're delicious, and an excellent vehicle for trying marijuana, if you're not too keen on smoke inhalation.
Talking about the Fae creature.
Oh, yeah, they're gross. Always getting their filthy little hands everywhere. And the Fae never understood germ theory, so even if they clean everything, they don't sanitize, so they bring in all kinds of diseases with them.
Are you kidding me?
Nah. Why, we got one?
Looks like, I said. At this, Gordon hopped his little head around to look at me, his jowls flopping with each hop.
Oh boy, what did you tick off to earn that favor?
Apparently, someone in the complex is its master, I guess? Host? I had a brownie named Puddlefoot wake me up to ask permission to clean the complex.
Oh, right, yeah. Now that makes sense. I mean, you are kind of the big cheese around these parts, and brownies are polite to a fault.
I walked over and squatted next to the chair. Yeah, what does that mean, big cheese, exactly?
Well,
Gordon started looking uneasy and refused to make eye contact.
I mean, you've killed a lot of things, boss, and you're dabbling more and more with the forces of nature. The Fae are always looking for some kind of authority figure, and as far as L.A. goes, you're it, buddy. I say just enjoy it. You can worry about the repercussions later.
My decapitated familiar always spoke wisdom, though sometimes his wisdom is a bit corrupted by his more opportunistic nature. Every day I feel a buildup of things I need to investigate. Gordon's origins, what on earth Lizzie is, whether or not magic use actually damns the soul. But, I don't know, I guess I'll just keep kicking this can down the road until I'm forced to ask the uncomfortable questions. As it was, I was still pretty tired, so I had no problem sitting up in my bed, trying to finish that nap I started. The last couple of days I was keeping a bit of an audio diary each day Puddlefoot worked with me. I'll just tack that on right here, Control. First morning with a brownie. At this point, I hadn't figured out why this particular creature was so much of an overachiever. In most cases, brownies will only clean the immediate area of the family or location that they're attached to. Cleaning the entire complex of 10 dwellings tends to be a bit much. Still, I can't deny being happy that my apartment was finally clean. As a bachelor, I usually just let detritus accumulate until it reaches critical mass. Even though I know the Verum Vicio requires a more clean and orderly space to work in, it's just far easier to let the second law of thermodynamics have its way. And then, every once in a while, I'll force myself to spend a day fighting entropy. No matter what, it's a losing battle. I need a wife. I've noticed that even if they don't clean, they tend to encourage men to be more orderly and organized. That's a problem for future gen to deal with. That guy is screwed. Anyway, I hadn't noticed Puddlefoot as he was cleaning. It's my understanding that, by and large, brownies are terribly shy, and even talking to him that one time was an exceptionally rare event. I wondered if the Fae seeing me as a regional authority figure is something I can exploit. Add that to the growing list of things I need to explore. For all that, I didn't see him again. I definitely saw the effects of his work. Lizzie's litter box, and yes, I have trained my mysterious lizard to poop in a box, was totally cleaned and smelled like pine trees. My carpet was also cleaned. Not vacuumed, but still somehow spotless. I even opened up the oven and saw that it was immaculate. No tomato sauce stains or anything. I could get used to having Puddlefoot around. Gordon warned me that I needed to leave a little offering for the brownie each night. Some cream or a snack, or really just anything. So I left him a Guinness. as he is apparently from the Isles, I can't imagine he'd turn his nose up at it. Second morning with a brownie. Apparently Guinness was a mistake. I didn't realize a Scottish fey creature would have absolutely no alcohol tolerance. Last night, after I set a Guinness out for him, I had gone upstairs to bed. I lugged Lizzie up the stairs with me. She's still getting used to the apartment and kind of prefer to keep her near me while I sleep. After another restless night, I went downstairs and was greeted with a uniquely clean horror show. The walls were rubbed clean of all paint. The tiles in my kitchen were removed and neatly stacked to one side. All the food in my refrigerator and pantries was just gone. In the strictest sense of the word, my apartment was clean. But when I opened the cupboard next to the stove, I felt a seething hatred that I saved for the real bastards. The brownie had cleaned out my entire supply of coffee. I walked to the chair where I had left Gordon, and he was literally just a skull, picked clean of all fleshy matter. He looked like he was straight out of Hamlet, yet even still, the skull tilted up toward me, and I still heard Gordon's same voice mutter back at me, "Hey, sorry, boss, but I'm not really feeling like myself today." "What happened, Gordon?" I said, concerned. "Well, let's just say the brownie got a little too excited about cleanliness after you left him a beer. I should have stopped you. I knew it was a bad idea, but I was kind of curious to see what exactly would happen." Okay, but I mean, are you going to be okay?" "Oh yeah, this has happened before. Those kooky Masons did all kind of nutty things. Just give me a couple of days, I'll pull myself together. Oh, but if you happen to stop by the hospital and get me a bag of blood, I'd be grateful. More to work with, you know." All right, watch Lizzie for me. You're going to make sure things are okay around the complex. Technically, it was more likely Lizzie would watch Gordon, but I didn't want to hurt his little feelings. He'd had a rough night. I went to my next door neighbor and knocked on her door. She opened up. It's not super rare for starlets to move into my complex. This month's flavor was a petite blonde. Decent body, above average face. Mentally, I gave her 2 months before she either quit the industry or found her way trapped into the adult film business. It's depressing, but the longer you stay here, you start judging actors and actresses based on the likelihood they'll do extreme things just to keep pursuing their dream. This girl, she had bad decisions written all over her. Well, that and grief. I have to make sure my supply of anti-vampire material is fresh. I always like to prey on the weak ones. "Hey, I said, I'm your neighbor. Have you been seeing anything weird the last couple days?" "Yeah, I guess my ex-boyfriend broke into my apartment last night. I think he shaved my cat. Spooked poor Melody half to death." At that moment, a very annoyed cat meowed spitefully in my general direction from inside the apartment. I looked past my neighbor, I never got her name, and saw that it was indeed utterly hairless. Ugliest thing I've ever seen. Remembered something about how cats are known to sporadically shed all their fur in the winter. Is November even considered winter? And I walked off. Looks like Puddlefoot's drunken rampage had affected my entire building, not just my apartment. That's annoying. I went door to door, trying to figure out what was going on. Seemed like every apartment had some mirror of the same. One man had his head shaved entirely bald, a couple of other examples of paint being scrubbed off walls, a few more cabinets utterly devoid of food, yet spotless. I sat down in my now immaculate living room and reasoned with Gordon my next steps. Together we worked out a note that established that, as the regional authority, A, I had made a mistake in giving him alcohol, but B, he was still in error for letting the alcohol affect him the way it did, and he'd have to make restitution for damages and lost property, especially my coffee. I left out a saucer of cream, because Gordon was sure cream was the proper offering, and went to bed. I took Gordon and Lizzie both up with me, just in case, and set Gordon in my ensuite bathroom and shut the door. He may be a friendly disembodied head, but it just makes him all the creepier when I'm trying to sleep. Third morning with a brownie. I woke up several times last night because Lizzie was hissing and making some sort of odd cawing noise I'd never heard her make before. I didn't see what she was hissing at. I assumed it was Puddlefoot, but when I turned on the lights, nothing was around. Either he was quick about getting back into Tir na Nog, or it was something else entirely. For all I know, Lizzie just hisses at things sometimes. She is still new to me, after all. When I went downstairs, I was kind of in shock. Everything was different. All the carpet had been torn up and stacked in neat squares. All the hardwood flooring had been torn out and stacked like cordwood. Every wall this time was bare of paint. My downstairs bathroom had been entirely stripped of fixtures, plumbing, sink, countertop. It was literally a bare room, roughly the size of a closet. Oh, and the wall that divided my apartment from my neighbor? Totally gone. I could see straight into the actress's kitchen. Her stupid naked cat hissed at me. On the backside of the note I had written to the Brownie, a note was scrawled in childish, blocky letters. More beer, or next time she dies. Uneasy, I walked through the wall and called out, "Hello? This is Jim. I did not break into your apartment, but you need to see this. Please don't be dead." I walked up her stairs to the second floor, calling out all the while. I knocked on her bedroom door, announced myself as "Police!" and entered. There'd be time to correct that error later. She was lying in the center of a perfectly bare room, perfectly bare herself, and totally comatose. I tried to wake her, but she was unmovable. Still alive, but in some sort of trance I couldn't break. Puddlefoot had gone too far. So, the Fae think I'm the authority of Los Angeles, do they? Time to exercise some of that authority. I went over to my apartment. It was clean and sterile enough for surgery. I opened myself up to the Veramvicio. It was nigh impossible to trace a citizen of Tir na Nog, but I knew the Fae reasonably well. Hawkwood had attempted much the same, but the fair folk looked down on explicit necromancers. Whatever Hawkwood had been up to, I was just making a simple request for an audience with a member of Oberon's court. In a flash of light, and with the smell of a summer's breeze, my request was answered. "Mortal man, son of Adam, what have we here? Why have you so brazenly summoned me?" Well, okay. Maybe it was a bit more of a summoning than I had intended. I opened my eyes and beheld a Fey man of average height, but wearing a wreath of autumn leaves. He had the masculine, yet porcelain features that all the Fey men have, though of course, no beard. His chin and jawbone were etched out of marble, and his nose was most definitely patrician in dignity. He was dressed in deerskin, but was cut in fashion so that it looked like he was wearing a tuxedo. His hair was as blue as the summer sky, just before sunset. He bowed his head in a way that was respectful, but not submissive. "Greetings, emissary of Oberon," I said, trying to mirror his same formal speech, and inclined my head in a gesture similar to what he had just given me. "I brought you here to discuss the surrender of one of your kin to me for crimes that he has committed against my kind." The Fae looked around my apartment and saw the unusual decor choices. "I smell one of the little ones has been by. Did you anger it? Their wrath is not something even my master can placate. But then again, who knows with mortal architects?" I did not anger or antagonize. Instead, I made it an offering of beer. A look of horror crossed the Fae's face, and he drew close to me, never touching me, but he looked like he wanted to strangle me. "You fool. How could you have given spirits to one of the little folk? Do you know you doom us all?" This was not the reaction I expected. Why I did it is neither here nor there. It happened. I need assurances that the Brownie Puddlefoot will not be allowed into the mortal realm again, or I shall bring this matter to your master myself, and demand satisfaction for injuries done to one of those under my care. I don't know, Oberon. If anything, I'm just bluffing like everyone does in a diplomatic situation. Had to hope that my reputation for violence preceded me. The Fae looked at me askance. He nodded once and said, "Done. From henceforth, the Brownie named Puddlefoot shall ne'er again leave Tir na Nog. What restitution would you require of the court?" That was easier than I thought. I need to use the diplomatic ways more often. I feel like somewhere Sean is listening to this report going, "Duh." I used more flowery language to get the Fae to set everything to right, the entire apartment complex back to the way it was pre-Brownie, and to wake my neighbor from her enchanted rest. He was apologetic, but once again, not in a way that implied that he was at fault. With a snap of his fingers, my walls, carpet, and bathroom, all exactly as they had been. I'm sure she had woken up too. He looked me in the eyes and said, "Is there aught else you require, mortal man?" "No," I said. "You have repaid the debt incurred by your vassal, and I am satisfied." Expressing thanks or gratitude is dangerous around the Fae. You have to word it carefully or they will entrap you in your own words. "Very well," he said. "Know this going forward. If you summon me again in like manner, I shall visit on you all the horrors I did Bottom the Donkey, as sure as my name is Puck. Or mayhaps I shall fleece the skin from your bones and wear it as a cravat. Or weave your hair into a skein and knit for myself a tunic. If you have need of the court ere again, send a request. Never summon us again." With that, with nary a flourish, he was gone, leaving only the scent of fresh mown grass in his wake. Until next time, Control, this is Jim Donavan. Over and out. Pinkerton's Ghosts is a podcast distributed by Superversive Radio, licensed under an Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike International License. This episode was written by Ken Dickerson and performed by the same. Ben Wheeler edits, directs, produces, and herds cats. Ken Dickerson performs our audio editing. Visit us on Facebook, read articles on superversivesf.com, or listen to us on unauthorized Acast, iTunes, or Spotify. Contact us through Twitter at @PinkertonsGhosts, email us at pinkertonsghosts@gmail.com, or send us noble messenger possums with messages strapped to their backs. Don't worry, they know how to find us. Thank you for listening, and good luck.